Hi, I'm Judy Mudd. I'm primarily thought of as a portrait or landscape or cityscape artist. However, I teach a lot of classes every week, and so we delve into other subject matters such as still lifes and florals and things like that. So invariably when I do those, I have a student that would like to know how to paint dewdrops on an apple or a leaf or whatever. So I thought I would do that today for the video. Now there's some supplies that you might need uh, that usually we have them, but this is masking fluid. You just need a single drop. It's not, you don't need a large amount, so any kind of masking fluid that you have is fine. This is for if you have planned for the dewdrop. You know you're going to do it ahead of time, so you're going to preserve the white of the paper in a small little dot on the dewdrop. The other things that I use are brushes, and these are nylon bristles so they don't tear up the paper. This brand happens to be Connoisseur. It's my favorite one for lifting brushes. You can see this is longer than normal for a watercolor. It's probably meant for acrylic or oils. I cut them off at the ends and to shorten them for watercolor. But I've used these for a number of years, and I really do like having these for my lifting brushes. These are both at zeros in size. And then the last thing, if you have not planned to have a dewdrop and decide at the very end, wouldn't it be nice to have one, then get a magic eraser or just a little dot of gouache or white paint of some kind, like just Chinese white watercolor. So on this eraser now, I prefer the Mr. Clean Magic Erasers. These are the ones, I don't know if you can see, that have ridges on them. I like the selected size because I can just break off a piece that I want to use. I like these, and they're preferable to these. I don't even know what brand this is, but it's a fatter version, and it's a much softer version. And I can't lift as well with this one as I do with the other Mr. Clean ones with the ridges. So that's what you need. I thought I would show you the dynamics of the light traveling through the dewdrop. I think it'll make more sense to you once you know what's going on, and we'll do that next. Okay, this is a simple apple with a single dewdrop on it, and I thought you might want to see just what that looks like when it's finished. This one was relatively quick, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. At least gives you an idea of what pieces and parts to the dewdrop that we're going to be working on. Let me show you what you'll need to do. This is the drawing that you'll make. Now the dewdrops, they can be oval or they could be round. You have to know where your light source is coming from, what direction it is, because that's going to determine where the highlight goes and also the shape of your cast shadow from the dewdrop. So we know those two things. Like I said, if you know ahead of time that you're going to do this, then go ahead and put a little bit of gouache in the highlight area to preserve that white of the paper. And then once that's dry, you just go ahead and paint the apple or the leaf or whatever it is, just like you would if it was not even there, because what we see through it is actually the object that it's sitting on. So that's how we get started. Okay, so I've prepared these two examples ahead of time. This is, I don't think this is arch paper. Arch paper actually lifts better than what I'm on here. I think this may be Saunders. It's softer, but if you use arch paper a lot, which is what I almost always use, then it will lift better than this right here. But I made two examples, one that I planned for and one that I didn't plan for. So if I was, working on my still life and decided at the last minute I wanted to add a dewdrop or two or three, something like that, then I would use this example. And but this is actually how I'm going to show you. So I have done my drawing. I think you can maybe see the drawing through that. I have placed my highlight with masking fluid right there. And I've also drawn a cast shadow coming from the dewdrop. Now, how this works is the light obviously is the strongest where the highlight is. It is hitting the water, the dewdrop. It passes through the dewdrop and creates a little glow. In other words, the light spreads out right through here. And then it passes through the other side of the dewdrop, and you can see it over here. It leaves a little bit of light even in the cast shadow. So that's how the light is working. It goes through the highlight, spreads out inside, and then comes out the other side with light. You can see how it is not as bright here in the shadow area as it is in within the dewdrop. And within the dewdrop here is not as bright as what the highlight will be. So let me do this one over here. Again, I've drawn my arrows where the light is coming, so I know what direction I should be lifting. And this is my round brush, my round 0. Got a tissue handy for lifting that out. And I'm going to start across from the highlight, because if this light is being pushed through here, then it's bouncing here and this. So I wet my brush down. I'm going to soften that paint, especially on this side over here, across from the highlight. And I'm just going to gradually lift that out, following the contours of the dewdrop. It's going to be a little wider here as it spreads out, and it's going to curve over on this side. Just keep lifting it out till I get it as light as I want it. And that's pretty good. And then I'm going to also put a little bit of highlight up here where the light is going through it. It may not be quite as strong as it is right here where the light is hitting it inside the dewdrop, but it'll have a little bit of highlight really around the interior. So I get it about like that. Something like that. Maybe just a little bit whiter right through here. Or lighter, I should say, instead of white. Okay. So I have that. And now I have to let it completely dry, because I'm going to have to go around and paint the exterior of the dewdrop. So I'm going to let this dry. We'll take a break real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got it dry. I dried it with a hair dryer. Again, on arch paper, this would be much lighter. So keep that in mind when you do these. Now what I'm going to do is add some darkened color around the perimeter. Get a small brush here. And I want the same color, the red color, but I want it a little darker. So I'm going to use the same colors, but I may add just a little bit of ultramarine blue just to deepen it a bit. Still want it to look red, but and now I'm just going to paint the perimeter. Now this is where the dome of the water droplet curves around. It's like looking through a glass, a clear glass or something like that. On the edges where it's thicker and you're looking through the thickness of the sides, it's a little darker. And so it's the same thing with this dewdrop. We're looking through the thicknesses of the sides of the dewdrop. So just on the perimeter, all the way around, you're going to use a little darker color. Just real thin. Okay. And while I have this color, I'm going to go ahead and do my cast shadow, which is going to be a darker version of the original color, whatever that happens to be. If it's green, you may put a little more blue in it, or if it's red, you might add a little purple, something to make it just the same color but darker. Okay. Now the cast shadow should taper. Again, we're following the light source. It's coming over this way, so it should taper off of the sides of the dewdrop, and also obviously be wider across the widest point of it, of the dewdrop. Okay, I'll let that part dry, and while that's doing that, I know the outside of the dewdrop, it would be hard edged. It's a hard edge around an apple or whatever it is. But the inside could be a little softer as the walls of the dewdrop come up. So I'm going to go back through here now that I've finished the other parts and soften some of that rim. I don't want it to look too cut out looking. I want it to be looking like it really could be a water drop sitting on the surface. So softening these edges. Just a little bit. This is still maybe too wet down here to fool with, so I'll just lightly do that down there. This looks a little too wide, maybe. A little too wide. I'm going to soften that a bit. Now it's starting to have that rounded look, isn't it? Okay, and then the way the light is traveling through the water, it's got the reflection, it's got the bounce light within, and once this dries again, I would probably lift out a little bit more, but once it passes through, hits this other wall on the other side, then it passes through that, but so there's a little highlight there too. But if you'll look at it, this one is not as bright as the interior, nor as bright as the highlight itself. The highlight will be the whitest and lightest spot on here. Okay, so now I have a little light bounce through here. So now you've got the overall shape. And I'm going to let that dry again, and we'll come back and lift and the highlight out. Okay, this is pretty dry. I always try to touch it with my back of my hand. Let's take this little highlight off, and you'll see how adding that makes a difference in the look of it. If I can get it all the way off here. It's stubborn. There we go. Okay, and that's basically finished. Now, if I was doing a painting, I may darken the center just a little bit, or I might add a color that's outside like say in the room or outdoors. I may add a little bit of color to the sides of it, but that's basically done. And then, of course, that's the way you do it if you're planning for it. This is the way you do it if you did not plan for it and want to add it at the end of a painting. So now on this highlight, I would either take some masking tape and cut a tiny hole in it and just lay it on here, try to place it in the right spot. Let me get rid of this one. Place it in the right spot. And just take my damp magic eraser and lift it out and then take it off real quick. And then the other thing, if you don't want to do that, is just to grab a little bit of gouache, white gouache, or Chinese white watercolor, and then just add that highlight. Either way, looks great. Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed seeing how these were done. Let me pull in close so you can see the different shapes. I hope it helps to understand the dynamics that are going on with the light passing through the water and how it creates not only just the reflection but the shadow shapes too. And I would caution you not to do 15 or 20 of these in your best painting right from the start. I would practice a few first. For me, after about the 10th one, I'm about done with them. So it's like painting 3 dozen grapes. It gets tedious after a while, but that's just me. You may love it. So give it a try. They do add a new dimension to your paintings, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks again, and I will see you next month.